Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So why did the owl invite all his friends over? Because he didn't want to be owl by himself. Ooh. What's an owl's favorite Beatles song? All you need is love. Okay. Mercifully, here's the last one. Why was the owl with a sore throat so upset? Because he couldn't give a hoot. But anyway, so let's talk about owls. You know, owls' hoots can be heard from several miles away. Hoots are actually declarations or claims to a particular territory and a warning for other owls not to go there. Really, when you think about it, hoots are really a very powerful statement about what's important to an owl. It is a very powerful and important statement. You know, owls have this connection with being wise. You know, wise as an owl. You know, that came from the Greek goddess of wisdom who had an owl and had an owl as a symbol. And so there is a lot of wisdom in knowing when to use your hoots, when to give a hoot. Because hoots are a powerful and important thing. They're a powerful declaration of what's important to us. And this morning, what I want to do is draw a connection between hoots and a thing we all want, which is happiness. Happiness in giving a hoot, and happiness and not giving a hoot. Anybody heard of Charles Bukowski? Wow, one person in the last service and one person this. That's fantastic. So he was a German-born American writer. He wrote several articles. He wrote a number of things, and he really wanted to break into the literary world. But he really had a lot of personal struggles. He drank a lot. He had severe issues with alcoholism and drugs. He drank a lot. He was always broke and spending his money. He was always with prostitutes. He had a really kind of seedy life. And all of his writings were actually about struggling with poverty, struggling with alcohol, and also learning how to be a better writer. And his struggles were so much that people didn't really want to sign him. All of his works were actually pretty small, modest works because a lot of publishers just didn't want to give him a chance. And he was working at a post office for years, and finally someone gave him a little chance, and he wrote a book called The Post Office. And in it, in the dedication part, he actually wrote, dedicated to nobody. And so he continued to struggle. He continued to have a difficult time. Some of the other things he wrote included the aftermath of a lengthy rejection slip, notes from a dirty old man. And this guy was very crude and vulgar, often showed up drunk and late. And for years, this was just how he was, as he was writing. And so he actually called his style of writing dirty realism. He always gave the perspective of those struggling, those in pain, those going through difficulty, and often shared a lot about himself and his story. You know, after his death, somebody said that he was the poet laureate of American lowlife. And he really, really struggled with himself. But one area he didn't struggle with, he was totally honest about who he was. He didn't try to be anything other than who he was. And he didn't give a hoot about what critics thought. He didn't give a hoot about success. He didn't give a hoot about being liked or not liked. What he did give a hoot about was just writing what came to him and what came through him, and teaching others to do the same. He died in 1994 at the age of 73, and 2 words are written on his tombstone. And those 2 words are, don't try. And most people think it was advice he'd given in writing class, which was that don't try and force your creativity. Don't try and force inspiration. Relax. Don't try so hard. Just open yourself and trust that it'll come, that it will come. And in many ways, this advice about don't try in writing to relax, to allow the inspiration to come, is probably good wisdom for living our own life. Because we are always trying, often trying, sometimes forcing and trying too hard, trying to always be more, trying to have more, trying to do more, trying to be more successful, trying to be the best, trying to be perfect. We have this thing, we're always driven to try and be more all the time. And I think part of us always trying to please people, trying to get people to like us, trying to look good in the eyes of others, is because it's a reflection that we really give a hoot about many, many things, about our image. You know, we give a hoot about our clothes, that we wear, the style of our hair, or we give a hoot about keeping our hair. We give a hoot about looking young and healthy and vibrant. And we give a hoot about serious and important things as well, like injustice and racism, and the economy and the environment, and taking care of animals and taking care of one another. We give a hoot about all kinds of good and serious things, but we also give a hoot about things that aren't healthy for us. We still give a hoot about what somebody said to us 20 years ago, and maybe somebody that broke our heart. We give a hoot, about something that didn't go well, that we were embarrassed about. We give a hoot about, our favorite TV show being canceled, or from snotty clerk, or somebody giving us all our change in nickels. We get a hoot about that our sports team lost. Give a hoot that the Raptors are in a slump right now. We give a hoot about personal things, general things, serious things, frivolous things. We give a hoot about many, many things. And the way I describe giving a hoot is caring about and investing our time and energy. We give a hoot about a lot of different things, and so many things, too many things. So maybe Bukowski had some wisdom of an owl, and that he was right. To have a better life, to have a good life, is to not try. To not always be striving for the best, to not always, be giving a hoot about all these things, because it overwhelms the mind. We get stressed that we aren't clear about what is really for our best. And commercials and companies try to engage us in giving a hoot about a lot of things. That if we drive the right car, that if we drink the right beer, if we invest with the right investment company, if we buy the right selfie stick, that we will literally, whatever it is, it could be, that will make our lives better. And we have so many images out there that make us, that we, in many ways, we don't measure up to. And sometimes all of that trying and giving a hoot actually disappoints us. That we actually get frustrated. We actually feel drained of our creative life force and energy. And then we feel like failures. We think we're less than. And so here is something interesting that Mark Mason said. He said the desire for a positive experience is in itself a negative experience. And the acceptance of a negative experience is a positive experience. Isn't that kind of wild? Wanting something positive is actually a negative experience, and accepting a negative experience is a positive experience. Alan Watts said it's called the backwards law. Is that whatever you chase only affirms what you don't have and takes you further from what you do want. That the more we chase happiness, it reminds us that we're not happy. And the more that we chase happiness takes us further from happiness. The more that we pursue money reminds us that we don't have money and takes us further from money. Does this all make sense? It's a little different perspective, but it kind of makes sense. That we're all looking for this good life, but we are giving too many hoots about too many things, and we need to not try as hard, because all this trying is actually creating frustration and disappointment. Jesus had something to say about this, Matthew 6, verse 20, starting at 25. It says, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, about your body, what you will wear. Is life not more than food in the body, more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? I just want to share that I found an original translation of what Jesus said here, and I just want to share that with you. Therefore, I tell you, do not give a hoot about your life and what you will wear. And who of you, by giving a hoot, can add a single hour to your life? Most people don't know that, but that's the truth. That's what Jesus actually said. You know, editors and publishers are always changing things, but that's what he meant. So my question is, what are the things that you are giving a hoot about that are draining you, that are consuming you, that are distracting you? What are the things that you are giving a hoot about that you know aren't good for you, but you still keep giving your energy and your effort and investing yourself in it and focusing on it too much, too often? One of the things about giving a hoot about too many things that aren't healthy for us is that we lose connection with the truth of who we are and what's really important to us. Giving a hoot to trivial things and things that aren't helpful makes us lose our priorities, our values, and what really matters to us. The best way to stop giving a hoot about things that aren't important is to start giving a hoot and get clear about what is important to you. Anybody ever start out your day and you got all these distractions and you were busy all day, but you felt like you got nothing done? Anybody ever have that? It's usually a sign that when we get distracted so often is that we aren't clear of what's important to us. Because when we are clear about what's important to us, we don't get distracted and we don't start giving hoots about things that aren't really as important. Today we are beginning a 4-week series called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Hoot. And it is a counterintuitive way of leading a good life, wanting a good life and wanting a better life. And today is called Don't Try. And so one of the things about wanting a good life is, well, let's just start this way. How many people would like a life that is an easy life or a life that's trouble-free? Anybody would like that? Okay, about 4. That's good. How many people would like a life, or at least like in your life, for things to go your way a little more often? And how many people would really like to avoid failure? Develop a fail-safe way before you try and do things, okay? And then how many people believe that if you get X and then Y and Z, that we'll be happy, and each one will make us a little bit happier? Anybody believe that? Okay. So here's the thing, is we give a hoot about all these 4, and all these 4 things are false and unhealthy and unrealistic. It is impossible to have a trouble-free life and an easy life. Jesus even said, in this life there'll be trials and tribulations, and yet we are still given a hoot about something that's not real, and we're trying to make real. No one can live a trouble-free life. The second one, everything should go our way. We know it doesn't, but we still think it would be a good idea if it did. If people just did what we wanted them to do, just behaved, if the kids did, if our boss did. I mean, we think that. You know, it's unrealistic, it's unhealthy, it's never going to happen, and yet we expect it every day. And that's what brings disappointments. Another one is to avoid failure. We run from failure. We don't want to fail at anything. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to do anything wrong. We think we'll look bad and it'll be bad for us. Yet I tell you, failure is the greatest teaching. Failure, every great success failed. There is richness and wisdom and understanding and things that can teach us and raise us to a higher level, but we avoid it. And then the final one is, if I get A and I get B and I get C and D, I'll get happier with more. The more I get, the happier I'll get. And that's not true. We are giving a hoot about unrealistic, unhealthy things that are actually harmful and set us up for disappointment. Everybody remember George Orwell? He wrote Animal Farm. Here's a fabulous quote of his. He said, "To see what's in front of one's nose requires constant struggle." To see what's in front of your own nose takes constant struggle. You know why? Because we're constantly distracted about things that we're given a hoot about that aren't healthy. We are preoccupied with trivial things and preoccupied with always becoming bigger, better, richer, faster, smarter, because we think that's the road to happiness and success. And so this morning, I want to share a few things that I think are healthier and the best way to live the good life that we all seek. And the first one is to accept life as it is. In the book, big book, page 417, it says, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. And do you know that we are constantly wishing life was different than it is? Think about your life right now. I'm sure every one of us has an area and maybe preoccupied that shouldn't be that way, that absolutely needs to change. That we have a difficult time accepting ourselves, accepting others, and the condition of our lives, and we have a tough time accepting what is. We had Byron Katie here yesterday, and her famous book is Loving What Is. I mean, we're constantly trying to force, change, deny, pretend, and fight against reality, thinking it shouldn't be that way. And it's one of the greatest ways to drain our energy and creativity and cause us frustration. We're always given a hoot that life should be different. It is. But you know what? Once we stop caring, once we stop investing our energy and giving too much, you know what happens? We feel peace. We make peace with who we are. And it actually gives us energy to move forward, to live and be more engaged and present in life. I'll tell you, the most powerful affirmation of what I'm saying about acceptance is in the Serenity Prayer. Let's say it together if we can remember it. And so, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Or the way I like to say it is, God, grant me the serenity to not give a hoot about the things that I cannot change, and the courage to give a hoot about the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because again, just like Jesus, it's the same theme when you think about it. Where are you investing your energy and your time? And you're giving a hoot, your care, your intention, where are you investing it? And so the first thing, we need to find acceptance and find peace with how life is and how we are, because that'll free us up to create more change and to be more present. The second one is to embrace the importance of pain. Do you know pain is a biological necessity, that it is biologically useful, and it is nature's way of inspiring us to change? That pain is a thing that inspires us to actually look at ourselves in life differently, because, and to see how to prevent it. It actually inspires us. Everybody remember a few months ago I talked about a lobster, that over a while a lobster, it starts outgrowing its shell, and it gets so uncomfortable that it actually has to shed that shell and then grow a new one, and then over time it will grow again into it. It'll become uncomfortable, but the discomfort is what triggers it to release the old shell, and so that it can expand and keep growing. And the dissatisfaction in our life isn't that we're doing something wrong, and we don't need to blame ourselves for it. We just need to pay attention and know that it's nature's way, it is Spirit's way of helping us expand and look at some areas in our lives, of maybe things that we're holding on to that it's time to let go, or maybe to move in a new direction that we aren't currently sharing our gifts and talents. Maybe it's to expand us and have a perspective that we don't have at the moment. So all that pain that we run and void from is actually, we would lose out. We lose out the gifts and benefits and creativity and the difference we're here to make by going through it. You know, Jesus said, in this life there'll be trials and tribulations, and he followed it by saying, but be of good cheer. Because that very same trial that you're trying to avoid, that you think is horrible, painful, and you're blaming yourself for, is the very thing that'll give you the good cheer, because it'll raise you to another level if you embrace it, if you accept it. Struggle is an important part of life. Pain is an important part of life. Anything worthwhile, requires us to deal with those things. For a baby chick or a butterfly, you cannot break out of the shell for the baby chick. You know why? It would kill it. It is the struggle of pecking it and breaking through the shell that sends blood through it to give it the strength to come out and come forth. Same with the butterfly. It is the struggle of pushing out that sends the blood to the wings that gives it the ability to fly. That whatever you're avoiding right now that's a struggle, you're denying yourself the growth and the strength and the insight that it could give us to move our lives to another level. We think failure or pain or stuff is bad. It's not. It is actually a vital part of a growing life and living a good life. When I try and do little brain exercises to keep my brain and so I do like Sudoku. I do this thing called Wordscape. I mean, I do all these little things, math problems I do. And life is about working through those problems. You know, I enjoy trying to solve Sudoku. You know, I enjoy doing math questions. I enjoy trying to figure out certain things because that's a part of what makes growth. That's a part of what makes life so much fun. And so it leads to the next one, which is to love the process. You know, we think happiness comes after we have succeeded or achieved whatever. Last week, we read a fabulous quote by Albert Schweitzer who said, "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success." So we believe it's the last thing, but Schweitzer says the first thing. But Mark Mason says it's also the middle thing. That real happiness comes from solving problems and going through the process of becoming what you'd like to become. Happiness is a constant work in progress. And if we want to be happy constantly, we have to love the process and the solving of our problems. One of the things I've come to learn is that we all as human beings, we want the reward without the struggle. We want the success without work. We want improvement without effort. We want change without changing. We want the victory without a fight. You know, we want the result, but not to go through the process. And that is really, really unhealthy for us. You know, I often watch shows about comedians who get together, and you know the first thing they get together was about the bombing, was about the difficult times, was about all those difficult times where things didn't go well. That's what makes them great. They didn't just want to be a great comedian, they were willing to go through the process of what it takes to be a great comedian. I remember the first time that I actually did any kind of public speaking thing. I was in grade 10 in my Man in Society class. The teacher's name was Mr. Brown. We were all given an assignment where we had to do a presentation to the class. He listed all the dates of when the individuals were speaking, and he said, just because your name is on those dates, it doesn't mean that that's exactly when it'll be. It's like, if someone misses, then you're next up. So if you're on a Tuesday and someone misses, then you move up to Monday's class. So that's how it is. So I was going to do a presentation on the Addiction Research Foundation. Still remember the address, 33 James Street North in Hamilton. And because you'll know why this had such an impact on me. And so the guy ahead of me wasn't there, so I had to go up. And I was thinking I'd prepare that night and do it tomorrow, like the sheet said. So I get up in front of the whole class, and I am shaken. I am unprepared. I'm scared, and public speaking is already a tough thing for everybody. And so I am just shaking. I'm holding the thing. I'm trying to read the pamphlet. You know, this is like, Mr. Brown gets so upset. He said, "Sit down, Maraj." Gets up in front of the class as if anybody is as unprepared and as bad as Richard Maraj, you're all going to fail. I got 30% on that presentation. I ran home crying. I was just devastated. For the next couple of months, could not make eye contact with Mr. Brown. 2-3 months later, they were having high school elections, and a part of being election was you had to do a talk in front of the whole school. And something in me wanted to redeem myself. I thought, if I got embarrassed in front of 30, why don't we do it in front of 600 people? So we're all up on the stage ready to give our presentation, and everybody goes like, "Good morning, staff, students, fellow blah, blah, blah. I'm so-and-so, I'm running for this. I was in the Glee Club, I was into that, I'm well qualified." That's how. So I'm up there, and I'm just thinking I'm going to die, just like lights on me, and it's like I was terrified in this whole room, and I got up there. And on that day, I wore the brightest, most colorful shirt that I had. Yes, it started many years ago, this addiction. And so I got up there, and then I just started, and I actually just moved around a little bit. And I said, nope. I said, I'm not just another pretty face. I said, I'm Richard Maraj, and I will be your next grade 11 rep or whatever I was in for. And I said, I just want you to know that anything that bothers a grade 11 student bothers me. I said, I care. I want to be the captain of our ship, that I will get us through the rough waters. I will get us to smooth sailing. We will go beyond the horizon and do things we've never done. I mean, I just started getting all silly on all this stuff and getting really creative and playful. And then at the end, I got a standing ovation. And my favorite part was, in the first row, Mr. Brown was standing there clapping and laughing and smiling. And I'll tell you, that was one of the best experiences of my life. And what it made me realize was two things. Later on, when I realized speaking was a thing, that became a great and important example for me. Number one, I vowed I would never be unprepared for a talk. Never be unprepared. It may not be good, but I would not be unprepared. And then later on, as I went in that cycle with Toastmasters and those things, I realized that even if I stink, I want to come back. I love this so much that I love the process of becoming. I wasn't just trying to be a star on a stage somewhere. It was like I wanted success, but I wanted to enjoy every bit and moment of it. You know, what I really believe is that we are defined by what we're willing to struggle for. And we need to ask ourselves, what is that thing that you would go through the process for and love every step of it? Yeah, we all want the end result, but what are you willing to struggle for? What are you willing to go through pain for? What are you willing to learn from? What are you willing to be vulnerable for? And whether it's to have a great physique and a healthy body, or a happy, loving relationship, or start your own business, or whatever it is, a deeper spiritual connection, what is that thing that you're willing to love the process? And your highs and lows and ups and downs and struggles, that you still are enjoying it and so glad that you did it. You know, the fact is, life is not pain-free or problem-free. Life is not always a box of chocolates or flowers and sunshine. It's a never-ending upward spiral that always includes challenges and struggle. And the fact is, we get to choose our struggle. You know how? By knowing what's valuable and important to us, we will get problems related to that thing. But if we don't, we will get random problems and start giving a hoot about things that really don't take us in the direction that we want to go. Again, we are defined by the thing that we are willing to struggle for and work for. And my question is, what is that for you? Because whatever that is what you give a hoot about. That is what will stop you from giving a hoot about and distracting you from other things, is to open yourself to that. The fact is, we can't give a hoot about everything and everyone. In life, you only get so many hoots, and you're going to decide where you want to give your hoots. And so I think this whole series is about getting clear of what's meaningful to you, what's important to you. Are you living life and according to what your priorities and what means the most to you? And that's where we invest our energy. That's where we invest our heart. You know, accepting life as it is, and accepting ourselves takes off a lot of stress, and we don't have to try as hard. You know, embracing the pain and knowing that pain actually helps us transform and enjoying the process. Those are the things that get us on the path to living a good life, and it is the first step in the subtle art of not giving a hoot. God bless you.